Give me your take on the Burr case, as at least we are aware of it thus far.
Well, I've been writing about insider trading for so many years, as you said, and yet these cases continue to astonish me. I mean, on the face of it, this looks really bad. It's not just that Burr dumped a lot of his stock shortly after being briefed on the threat posed by the virus to the economy, but his brother-in-law also dumped shares, apparently, at about the same time. And that's why the cell phone is going to be so important, because if they find cell phone records that he called the brother or the brother called him, that they had a conversation just before the brother sold, that is very incriminating. And it reminds me of these other cases where, it's bad enough to engage in insider trading in the first place. But to then tip other people, not only is that turning it into a conspiracy, but you're creating potential witnesses against you. I mean, the brother-in-law is going to be questioned by the FBI, and either he's going to have to be honest and possibly incriminate Burr, or he's going to lie, and that's a crime in and of itself. And in 9 out of 10 cases, these people end up cooperating, and they're ruined. But in fairness to Burr, there are two things we don't know yet. We don't know exactly what information he learned as chairman of the Intelligence Committee, and we don't know the precise timing of when he learned that and when he then traded.
Right. Was it, that's, I guess, my question, Jim. Are we going to know whether it was really material non-public information that he actually had? I would assume they will argue otherwise, that it was just sort of a compilation of what was already available to the public to some extent.
Right. They have already argued that. And every defendant in an insider trading case argues that. They usually say, oh, well, I read it in the Wall Street Journal, or there were rumors, or their information was out there. And of course, we know there was, public information about the virus. But that almost never works. Juries, judges, that gets discarded if you can show that there was specific, potent, material information that they learned, and then that appears to have triggered the actual trade. I mean, that information about the virus was floating around for a long time. So why did Burr act on the day that he did? That's what he will have to explain. And again, I think what the information is will tell us a lot, and the timing of that information. Now, there was this recording of him in which he briefed Republican or North Carolina business leaders that the situation was far worse than was publicly known. And now that does suggest that he did learn something fairly significant while chairman of the Intelligence Committee, but we still don't know yet what that is. But that is not going to be hard to find out. I mean, other people were briefed as well. There are going to be plenty of witnesses who will be able to tell the FBI exactly what members of the Intelligence Committee learned and when.
Does the number of trades that he undertook have meaning at all? I think it was 33 separate trades from what I recall. So does the volume as well lend more to the case that might be made against him, Jim?
Absolutely. This is all circumstantial evidence that adds up to, again, what looks on the face of it, a very suspicious case. I mean, he was not a regular and frequent trader. And then all of a sudden he decides to make these 33 sales. And it's not like he sold some things and bought others. Why this precipitous decision at that particular time when that is not consistent behavior? And by the way, the other thing I find so astonishing this is Burr, of all people, is intimately familiar with the law that banned insider trading by members of Congress because he was one of 3 senators who voted against the bill. Only 3 voted against it. He was saying, oh, well, it's already covered by insider trading law. So he certainly can't pretend that he did not know that this was illegal.
But, Jim, just the fact that law even came so late, I think it was only a few years ago, it feels like we've had these conversations before, and there's been this type of behavior. Congress gets all sorts of sensitive briefings. Why are they allowed to trade stocks?
Well, that is a good question, and I think there have been some recent proposals in the wake of this, and he's not the only one who's under examination for having dumped shares when confidential word was going around about the virus. So, yeah, I think that's a perfectly good question. I was wondering that about myself today because I can't imagine that the average member of Congress is a very good stock picker anyway. Maybe they'd all be a lot better off if they were in, mutual funds and ETFs. Which, by the way, is not the end of the world. I'm not allowed to own individual stocks as a journalist at the time.
Neither are we.
And nor are you. And I mean, so why shouldn't members of Congress be subject to some kind of similar restrictions in which these kinds of issues would simply be removed? I really would have no problem with that. And I think probably most of them, they'd be better off if the temptation was taken away from them. Burr would certainly have been better off if he had simply been in some big fund. Now, that said, I think he would still have a problem, even if he just owned, big mutual funds or ETFs. If he learned of confidential information about the threat to the global economy, he dumped all his ETFs. That's still a problem under the existing law.
Yeah, understood.
And again, I
Jim.
think more
Thank
broadly, it just undermines confidence in the integrity of the system when you have lawmakers going to Washington and using it to line their information to line their own pockets as opposed to trying to help their constituents. It's no wonder it's illegal, and any way to stop it, I think, is good.